4. Sergeant at Arms, we're go.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Subcommittee on Zoning and Franchises. At this time, we ask that you please silence all electronics, and at no point, please do not approach the dais. Chair, you may begin.
Good afternoon and welcome to a meeting of the Subcommittee of Zoning and Franchises. I am Councilmember Lynn Schulman and will be acting chair of the subcommittee today. This afternoon I am joined by council members Sean Abreu, Camilla Hanks, Yusuf Salam, and Kevin Riley online. Today we are voting on one land use proposal and 2 sidewalk cafes. The land use proposal is known as the Bally's Ferry Point Map Amendment in Councilmember Marmorato's district. The 2 sidewalk cafe applications are for restaurants located in Majority Leader Farias's and Councilmember Powers districts and are known as Myconian House and Adjo and Oregano. The first vote concerns LUs 321, 322, and 323 regarding Bally's Ferry Point Map Amendment. In order to compete for a state gaming facility license, applicant is seeking multiple land use actions. By the way, I didn't mention that we've been joined by Councilmember Marmorato, the state, and Councilmember Amanda Farias. The state is requiring that applicants obtain any needed local land use approvals before the end of this final step. This is why the current proposal is before us today. To pursue its proposal, the Bally's applicant team is seeking 3 land use approvals. The proposed development site for the casino is where Bally's currently operates a golf course and is located within Ferry Point Park. Because the proposed location is parkland, the site does not have a zoning district designation and its development potential is very restricted. To build a casino, the applicant team must seek the mapping of a zoning district. The second land use action is to amend the city map to reconfigure some of the nearby streets and to demap parkland where the proposed buildings would be located. The third land use action is an application by the New York City Department of City Administrative Services, and it seeks authority to convey a non-exclusive easement to Bally's, which would allow them to use an existing roadway for circulation purposes. There are 2 fundamental problems with the applicant's proposal to convert a relatively small golf clubhouse into a casino and entertainment complex that would attract tens of thousands of visitors from the city and the larger New York region. Ferry Point Park was a landfill for decades before it was a golf course. One of the reasons it was a landfill is that it is located in a part of the Bronx that is not easily accessible, and so it was not prime real estate land. Redeveloping the landfill into a golf course made a lot of sense because golf courses need a lot of space and do not attract very large crowds throughout the year. In fact, golf courses are inactive in the winter. The only access by car to the current golf course is a one-way service road, locally known as Ring Road, and it is essentially 1 lane as people park along it. To make matters worse, the only access to the Ring Road is off the Hutchinson Parkway and narrow local streets. Everyone knows that these local streets regularly back up throughout the week during school drop-off and pickup and during peak times at the shopping center just to the west of the golf course. This limited access, although not ideal, works for the golf course because it does not generate a lot of car traffic and does not operate year-round. In strong contrast, applicant's proposal is to turn the site into a regional destination that will attract tens of thousands of visitors year-round, day and night. And all these visitors would come by car or bus, possibly ferry, because there is no easy public access to the site. Applicants' answer to the site's lack of accessibility is to make Ring Road into a 2-lane street and build a new overpass just south of the Lafayette overpass. Applicant would also make small changes to a few intersections to improve their design. The issue is that these improvements do not change the fundamental problem that the proposed development is simply not easily accessible by car and was never planned to be a major regional destination center that operates 365 days a year. Everyone in the city knows that the Hutchinson Parkway and the Cross Bronx back up all the time, every day. Applicant offers no improvements or solutions to these 2 highways, which will be the only way to access the casino for visitors outside the Bronx. It is well known that there is terrible traffic on the local streets in this area of the Bronx. In fact, applicant's own traffic study confirms there is a real congestion problem in this area of the city. Today we are being asked to approve a rezoning that could make this traffic even worse. For example, applicant's environmental study finds that during Saturday peak hours, up to 2,898 cars and buses will access the site through Ring Road. This means in a single hour, almost 3,000 cars and buses will be using Ring Road. An applicant would have us believe that simply improving Ring Road to a 2-lane road will be enough to handle all this extra traffic. This makes no sense, neither from a practical standpoint nor from a land use perspective. The bottom line is that this project will create more congestion. The applicant has also failed to establish why or how it is appropriate to turn a green area along the waterfront that provides some peace and quiet to Bronx residents into a major entertainment complex that operates day and night. The borough's regional and waterfront parks are among the Bronx key assets. Why are we trying to convert Ferry Point Park, a wonderful green getaway along the water, into an entertainment complex that is only accessible by car? We need to preserve our green spaces in the city, including those located in the Bronx, and part of preserving them is to ensure that they are accessible and that they offer quiet, safe spaces for families to enjoy. Placing a casino and entertainment center in the middle of Ferry Point Park will make accessing the park much more difficult due to the projected traffic this proposal will generate, as shown in applicant's environmental study. The proposal is also simply not compatible with maintaining green, quiet space along the waterfront that provides much-needed clean air to the Bronx. I do not think any serious person would suggest building a casino in Central Park or Prospect Park, so why would it be appropriate to build an entertainment complex in this park? Bronx residents have the same right as other New Yorkers to green spaces, to clean air, and to streets that are not congested. For these reasons, I recommend that this subcommittee disapprove these land use applications. Councilmember Mamarati, you have remarks? Okay.
Thank you so much. Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? Is it on? Okay. All right. Thank you, Chair. I speak today as a representative of District 13 in the Bronx. To state clearly and firmly, I oppose this application. I've done the work. I've sat with my community, with the applicant, and with my colleagues. I've taken the meetings, I reviewed the proposal, and I kept my door open to discussion. Some of those conversations came far too late. My community has made their voice crystal clear. They did not want a casino, and I was elected to represent them, not outside interests. So colleagues, I ask you to stand with me and stand with my district, because this is how we value each other's communities and their wishes, especially when a community's position is this unified. Please vote no, and I urge you to respect that. Thank you.
The second vote.
To vote yes, I'm sorry, I vote to disapprove the application, I apologize.
Second vote. The second vote concerns LU 326 regarding an application for a sidewalk cafe by Marconian House, a restaurant located on the Upper East Side. Councilmember Powers supports this application. No, he's not. The third vote concerns LU 327 regarding an application for a sidewalk cafe by Ajo and Oregano, I hope I didn't screw that up, a restaurant located along White Plains Road next to the Parkchester residential development in the Bronx. The site plan for the proposed sidewalk cafe raises concerns with the operation of neighboring businesses. So we are proposing to modify the application by removing the proposed entrance to the sidewalk cafe on the northern side of the restaurant, leaving the entrance at the southern end. A modification will also permit up to 8 tables and 10 chairs. 16 chairs, oh, sorry. And 16 chairs, provided all applicable sidewalk cafe rules are followed. Majority Leader Farias supports this application as modified. Do you want to make a statement? Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair, and it was very close, Ajo y Oregano. Today we're voting to approve the modified sidewalk application for Ajo y Oregano located on White Plains Road in my district. As many of you will recall, I previously raised specific concerns regarding the initial application, particularly around the proper siting of the cafe and the safe, unobstructed flow of pedestrian traffic. These are not minor details, but essential considerations for the safety, accessibility, and overall quality of life in our neighborhoods. Since that time, my office has worked closely and consistently with Ajo y Oregano's ownership to review, revise, and improve this application. I want to commend the restaurant for their responsiveness and their commitment to being good neighbors. Through this process, all outstanding issues have been resolved. The updated site plan now reflects thoughtful modifications that fully address the concerns I laid out during our public hearing. This is a great example of what can happen when businesses, local government, and the community work together in good faith. In light of the collaborative solutions achieved, I'm proud to vote in favor of Ajo y Oregano's modified application, and I encourage my colleagues to do the same. Thank you again to the Land Use Committee and planning staff for your partnership throughout this process. I look forward to seeing this restaurant continue to thrive while contributing positively to the vibrancy and walkability of White Plains Road and the Parkchester community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Council, are there any council members with questions or remarks at this time? Members appearing remotely who have questions or remarks about today's items should use the raise hand function now. Council will announce members in the order that hands are raised. I now call for a vote to disapprove LUs 321, 322, and 323 relating to the Bally's Ferry Point map amendment, to approve LU 326 relating to the Sidewalk Cafe application by Maconian House, and to approve with modifications LU 327 relating to the Sidewalk Cafe application by Ajo and Oregano. Council, please call the roll.
Thank you. Acting Chair Schulman.
Yes.
Chair Riley.
I vote aye or no with the exception of LUs 321, 322, and 323, is which I vote no.
Thank you. Councilmember Hanks.
I vote aye.
Councilmember Salam. Councilmember Salam.
I vote yes.
Councilmember Abreu.
I vote aye.
All items are adopted by a vote of 5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and no abstentions, with the exception of land use items 321, 322, and 323, which are approved by a vote of 4 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative, 0 abstentions, and all items are referred to the full Land Use Committee.
That concludes today's business. I would like to thank the members of the public, my colleagues, subcommittee council, land use, and other council staff, and the Sergeant at Arms for participating in today's meeting. This meeting is hereby adjourned.